So, day 3, and we have the 703-2 without armor. I mean, in all seriousness though, this is probably the only deal so far which I have felt has been somewhat worth it. Because 9,000 gold for a tier 8 premium is a pretty decent enough price. And there's 30,000 of them. You could probably go up to maybe 11,000 gold, and I still think that would be an okay deal. Considering that in the tech tree, you could get something like an IS-6 for a decent amount of gold. I think that's like 10,000 gold. I think the Lerva is like 11,000 gold or something. I don't know the exact price because I've got them all, but... And there you go, the AMX M449 is like 10,500. The AMX CDA is 9,600, even though you could just go and buy that from the bond store. But and that one. But that's besides the point. But you see what I mean. Most tier 8 premiums are around about 10,000, 11,000 gold. And I think that if you are going to be purchasing a tank, at least make sure it's for a decent price. You could overpay if you want, if you've got loads of gold. But I think that 9,000 minimum bid, considering there's 30,000 of them, that's pretty okay. So straight away, I'm going to put in 9,500 and we'll put that bid in and see if we get it. Obviously, not all of these has been reached yet. So not all of 30,000 has been actually, taken up. So there's no competitive bid. If you didn't know, the competitive bid takes the middle of amount from the 30,000 that is there. But you would have to get all the 30,000 to be bidded on first. And then you would have the minimum, the competitive bid. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'll check back later on. And it's always best to check back later on if you do put a bid in. Just to see where the competitive bid is at. Now, this tank is a little weird. Because it doesn't really get armor. It has 200 upper superstructure armor. 208, 206, 200 actual plate here, and then a 190 plate here. So, you're probably going to get penned by everything that you meet, which means that you're going to have to play this tank at more of a medium to long range, maybe. And it's kind of hard to brawl in it, because it's such a boxy tank. I mean, yes, you can quickly go on the corner and unload your double barrel worth of alpha, which you can get 780 alpha, exactly the same as a 703-2. But if you're going to be going in close range, why don't you just go and get a 703-2? But if that's how you want to play the tank, you don't have the health of a 703-2, or even the health to really brawl effectively. You especially don't have the fuel tank health or the ammo rack health to hope that you don't get set on fire. And let's remember, this is a Russian tank. It's going to get set on fire probably straight through the front of the tank. And that lower plate is only 98 or 100 millimeters effective. Now, because this is obviously a tank destroyer, you do get some pretty nice field mods. You get the first one, which will give you plus 15% maintaining speed across all terrain, which is lovely to have, and better track health, so track durability, which means that if you do add in a hardening, your tracks become very, very healthy indeed. 440, which means that most tanks that you're going to meet at tier 8 and tier 9 won't be able to track you in one shot if you do use that. However, as we've just spoken about, if you're playing at a medium to longer ranges, it's probably not worth it, because I think that this tank will shine at a longer distance rather than a closer distance. And it's very, very easy to try and get baited into going into close range because you have that alpha damage, decent DPM, but I feel like it's not quite like that because it's too boxy. It's like an ISU-122-2 in that sense, with two guns almost. So I honestly think that it might be best, as weird as this, I really don't know why I'm trying to say this, but something like this. I mean, maybe you could actually put hardening on it just for fun, but you could probably put on something like this, and then with all the crew skills, with that, you'll have a very, very decent tank. Obviously, you can't put a rammer on this because it's got double barrel, but then you'll have more than enough view range to spot for yourself if you are at that medium distance, so you should be able to outspot some people that are coming up. Add in all the field mods. There you go, even more. Or you could go with a turbo, you could go with hardening, you could even go and use something like this if you really want to. I mean, again, this is like... I'd rather try and get that aim time down, the dispersion down, sorry, as much as I can. So something like that I feel would be really, really nice. And then playing it as a more support role. But even then, optics to have 500 meters view range, it's just going to be really nice. You also have 30 camo, which is better than a Gorilla 15. I don't actually know if that's better than a Gorilla 15. I need to go and double check. Yeah, it is. It is. Don't worry about it. So I feel like a lot of people are going to probably tell you that you can brawl with it, you can do this, that, and the other with it. It has no armor, man. What do you mean you're going to brawl with it? The thing is, this is not like a Jagdpanzer 100, where even if the Jagdpanzer E100 didn't have as much armor as it does, you can still probably brawl with it because you have that massive alpha damage. With this, it takes 2 seconds to charge up the shots, and then fire, and then you need to get back. It's not quite the same as the Jagdpanzer in that respect. But the Jagdpanzer also has the benefit of being able to angle at 45 degrees, and then no one's going to pen you unless they know what they're doing. It does get very, very nice heat rounds as well, which then furtherly cements the fact that you can just play this at medium range. And if you are someone that isn't... Let's say that you're someone that's not as good as the game and doesn't want to brawl as much, you have 258mm of standing pen, which is lovely. That's like one of the higher, or much higher end of the standard pen for tier 8 premiums. And then 300 heat, which means that it's not going to lose any pen over distance, so you could use it at longer ranges and mid ranges especially, where it's going to be very, very accurate. You know what? I feel like this tank will actually be very, very, very good. Decent enough power to weight, 40 top speed, which means you don't really need a turbo. You could put a turbo on it if you really wanted to. I mean, maybe you could even ditch out the IAU and then put that on it. That might be better for you. If you really wanted to, and I'm not saying that you should do this, but you could even put low noise exhaust and then have 37% camo on proc. Or you could just go for ultimate gun handling and bounty aiming, and there you go. However, this tank, as you can clearly tell, there is a lot of equipment choices that you could do and you can actually use. It's not like other tanks where there's only a set few that you should be using. You don't have a rammer to worry about. I think vents is a must no matter what you're using. Because it's the only way to boost up the DPM. So vents is just a no-brainer. And then I feel you could either use optics and then have IAU or maybe a turbo or something like that. So lots of different ideas. And the more that I'm discussing this, the more that I'm realizing that this isn't a bad deal, actually. Considering that if I can talk for this long about how many equipment choices you can use and what would be effective and what wouldn't be effective, that's decent if it has multiple uses. So I'm going to put my bid in and leave it there for 9,500 and we'll see how it goes. I can't believe somehow this has more camo than a Gorilla 15 though. Look at it. How does it have more camo? Oh, it even has the big pooper scooper on the back. Either way, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below as always. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for the last day of the auction. Wonder what it's going to be. See you later.